Hello. Sorry, I'm trying to go live on YouTube as well. So just give me a minute so I can figure this out. Almost. I don't know if it's gonna let me use my iPad or not. I can't scroll up. Okay, let me use my other phone. What are you guys doing? Okay. Oh, yeah, I'm so tired. It's been a really long day. It's been a long, like, holiday weekend or holiday year situation that I'm, like, wrapping up, trying to end the year off strong, you know what I mean? Because this time of year is really good for money. People love to give tips. People love to give gifts. And even though I don't celebrate, I will gladly accept all of the gifts and all of the money because, yeah, who doesn't love money? So last night I posted a video and I went over the author's note only of, this book, and I am going to be calling it My Time to Scam. I am not gonna pronounce it by its actual title because we all know that it is bullshit. So I will go over the author's note again. And oh, it looks like my dinner is almost ready. I made pizza, just something easy because I'm here by myself. My kids are both at work. So the author's note reads, "Everyone considers my story to be true crime, but this book is a work of memory, my memory, and therefore is a memoir and not an outsider's investigation of my life or crime. The feelings and emotions evoked are accurate. While some of my childhood memories have faded, these particular events remain vivid. To fill in many gaps, I've relied on other people's answers to my questions. The typical disclaimers apply." Hold on. So I can get my food out. Alexa, off. And you guys are welcome to like ask questions. I really want this to be a discussion where we can all kind of communicate together as I am reading the book. So feel free to be like, hey, stop for a second so we can talk about a particular part of the book. Because I have a business to run and kids to take care of and a home to take care of, I am not going to be able to sit through and read this entire book in one evening. So we will try to get through at least an hour and a half of it tonight and then come back and do another hour and a half tomorrow night. Yes, hey! You're so welcome, Maria. So I am live on both YouTube and on TikTok at the same time. So just so everyone knows, I am trying to do both. So if you kind of feel like I'm not responding quickly, I might be looking at I might be looking at comments from YouTube, so just bear with me as I try to like make a homemade phone stand so that you guys so that I'm able to see both of you on the same wavelength. Okay, there we go. Oops. I think that works. Okay, let me get my food because I am hungry. I do want to, like I said, I want to have a discussion, so I want us all to kind of be able to converse together. One of my close friends was really confused because he was like, why is everybody who says they don't support Gypsy buying the book? Why is that, you know? And I totally understand how that looks. We say we don't support her, but yet we're buying the book. It does look a little hypocritical, so I can agree that that does look hypocritical. I made it clear that I didn't plan on keeping this book. After I was done reading it, I only really wanted to read the book and like see if there were any new lies in the book or contradictions from this book to the previous book and like interviews that she has done. That's why I wanted to do it together as a group, because like I might not remember something that you do remember, and reading it together as a group kind of helps us all put our memory together and figure out like where the new lies are. So that was my motivation for wanting to, you know, read this book. And I bought the paperback version. I know a lot of other creators bought the audiobook version, but I was just simply not going to like listen to her for hours reading the book herself. Not to mention that I feel like I learn and I pay attention a little better when I am reading myself versus somebody else reading it to me. So that's me, and I wanted to like read it all together. Hey, everybody from Scotland. Yeah, I hear that there is actually a little bit of pornographic information in the book, which I was like, why would she put that kind of stuff in this book? But we are talking about Gypsy Rose, and she is not really the most tame person when it comes to her sexuality, and she seems to want all of us to be all up in her business, whether we want to be or not, especially her sexual business. So I was a little kind of mortified for Ryan that she was putting all his business out there. I feel like she has humiliated him, you know, enough. I don't understand why she would continue to try to humiliate him even further, but that's what she does. She enjoys kind of humiliating the people that she no longer finds useful in her life. All right, so I'm on the part where it says, I've relied on other people's answers to my questions. The typical disclaimers apply. Some names and other details have been changed or omitted to protect the privacy of individuals. Any resemblance between a fictionalized name and a real person is strictly coincidental. Where there are passages containing dialogue, quotation marks are used when I'm reasonably sure that the speaker's words are close to verbatim or that the speaker's actual meaning is accurately reflected. The story I share here is true to my memory, and these memories have shaped my perceptions, many of which are also shared here. This is how it was for me, what I experienced or what I believe I experienced. Hold on. I know it's embarrassing. I don't understand why she keeps wanting to like throw her sex life in everybody's business. We don't care. Like, we don't want to know. She has absolutely no shame. None. So I had planned on returning the book after I was done reading it. Ooh, hot. One of my followers on TikTok was curious about, like, if I would share the book with her and possibly, like, send it to her so she could read it herself if she wasn't able to, like, catch it online. I think that that's a good idea, like sharing the book if people want to read it, so that only one person is paying for it, and then we're all just kind of sharing that book rather than every one of us giving her money. And that was also another reason why I wanted to do the live reading of it, because this way we can all come together and hear what's inside of the book without giving her more money. Is it really? I didn't know that. I had pre-ordered this book back in September when I was reading her other book, Released, because I knew something told me that it was going to be all lies. So I pre-ordered it back then because everybody was wanting to hear me read the new book when I was reading the old book. So if you guys want to read the book and you don't want to pay for it, somebody on YouTube just told me that you can go to the subreddit, the GRB subreddit, and the PDF file is in the subreddit, and you can download it there and read it. So I think that's really cool. That's a great way for us all to kind of work together so that she's not making money. So I wondered if these titles are in French, because it says ça va, and then underneath it says that's enough. So if anybody knows French, please let me know if that's what this means, because Cindy, it's in the GRB subreddit group, I believe. I'm very curious to see how the peaceful protest is going to go. And if people are going to be out there, like, dressed as Dee Dee. If they're going to, you know, try to honor Dee Dee at this book signing. I mean, how embarrassing for her if people did that. And instead of coming inside to, like, get their book signed, everybody just is outside mourning Dee Dee's life. That'd be a huge slap in her face, which is what is necessary at this moment. Like, she's such a horrible person. Sorry, I haven't really eaten anything all day, so I'm trying to do a lot of things at once. Yeah, everybody said it's on the GRB subreddit group. GRB Snark. Okay, so if anybody knows French, let me know. Because isn't that, like, down in the bayou, La Fouche, the parish and all of that, it's like French, right? So if you know, what ça va, hey Charlie, means. I think it's French. I think that's why they put it in there. Okay, it says, that's enough. When Dee Dee Blanchard was 24 years old, she gave life to me. When I was nearly 24 years old, I took life from her. I firmly believe that by doing so, I was saving the life she had guarded with all her might, mine. I didn't realize how morbid that was, that Dee Dee had her when she was 24 and Gypsy unalived her when she was 24. That was probably planned to be like that as well. So she is kind of justifying this by saying that unaliving her mom was her saving herself. Though she certainly saw my life as ours at best, we're two sides of the same penny, she liked to say. Although two things may look very different and be diametrically opposed, they're actually inseparable, two parts of the same whole. After being incarcerated for 8.5 years, I've been learning how to navigate life on my own separately. My time served includes my combined imprisonment in 3 facilities. First, Greene County Jail in Springfield, Missouri, where I spent a little over a year. Then for a month, I was transferred to a prison for women in Vandalia until I was relocated to Chillicothe Correctional Center to serve the remainder of my sentence. Given all that time, with the help of therapy, family, friends, books, and my own writing, I have examined my life, actions, and relationships in great breadth and depth. At last, I've been given access to information, documents, records, and therapy sessions. I'm like a detective, noticing patterns, theorizing, having light bulb moments, and making new connections between things that used to make no sense to me. Still, while a year has passed since my release from prison, my scars, both emotional and physical, remain. The physical scars are like track marks that mock my progress. That's a little morbid. Track marks, like heroin track marks. Yeah, she could have left at any time. I heard one portion of the book. I can't remember where I heard it, but in the portion of the book that I heard, she was basically saying that her mother, towards the end of her life, had a caregiver coming to the house once a week. So if this were true, why did she not talk to the caregiver about how she needed help and get away? Like, she keeps telling us more and more people were in and out of that home, yet she felt like she could not do anything else but unalive her mother. Like, right. It's just bullshit. It's all bullshit. She says, I'm not saying I can't heal. What I am saying is the physical representation of my trauma just adds another dimension to the healing process. Like when I'm enjoying one of life's simplest joys, food. Apparently all she eats is the same shit she was eating before. And I dive carefree into my first cut of steak or slurp of an oyster, but then have to pause and strategize the chew. What the fuck? Without salivary glands and teeth, thanks to unnecessary surgeries and medications, my past will always puncture my present. So she's saying that she does not have any salivary glands. Too much soda. Hey, Dee Dee. Too much soda and her drinking from a bottle. She said in another part of the book that she was drinking out of a bottle until she, hey Jess, that she was drinking out of a bottle until she was in her 20s. That, like, you know how kids suck their thumb and it like bucks out their front teeth? That's what was going on with her. And then imagine when little kids have bottle rot in their mouth, it rots out all their teeth. So that's what was happening to her. Not because she was losing her teeth because of Tegretol. Gypsy's a terrible person. It says, the natural Louisiana sunlight that streams into my bedroom is far more forgiving than the harsh fluorescent lights at Chillicothe, where I was incarcerated for 7 years after my sentencing. I have a full-length mirror now where I can see the whole of me. In prison, I could only see glimpses of my body in an 8-inch square mirror, never quite sure whether all my parts went together. What the fuck? In the warm light, my scars are less jarring than I found them to be in the past. Or maybe time is softening the marks on my body. But sometimes it's what's not visible that hurts the most. For me, that's true. For all the trauma inflicted on my body since childhood, it's the scar that isn't there that always travels with me. The scar that otherwise would have been there if I hadn't asked Nick to kill my mother. People want to know, what was the final straw? What was the moment when I decided it was her or me? Here you go, y'all, on page 3. 1 month before the murder, my mother tried to cut my throat. At least that's how I saw it. Her mother tried to cut her throat. She's never mentioned this before, ever. Let's be real. She was sending sexually explicit photographs to her father when she was 19, 20 years old. And then blamed it on that girl, Aaliyah. She says the cause of concern suddenly was my voice. It's so high-pitched. It's so squeaky, my mother complained to my ear, nose, and throat specialist. I thought my voice was distinct, like my uncommon name, or maybe it was a family trait to be proud of. We both knew women on my mother's side of the family were similar high-pitched voices. Besides, Nick said my childlike chirp was sexy, so I didn't understand the issue, and I told my mother so. Never in front of doctors, of course. I knew better than that. But on the way home, I went on and on, like, well, a squeaky wheel. Yes, I'm reading the new book. There's nothing wrong with my voice, I said with a whimper as she pushed me and my portable wheelchair to the parking lot where our car was parked outside the hospital in downtown Kansas City. She had to have seen this in a fucking movie. Because, like, where did she all of a sudden come up with this? You heard the doctor. That voice of yours might mean there's a problem with your larynx. What? And that problem could be causing your sleep apnea? How does your voice cause sleep apnea? Like, is there any nurses in the live? Like, is that a thing? Is that possible? She said no, her final word. No matter my sassing, we were going to go ahead and meet with the pulmonologist the ENT had just recommended. Though we both knew very well I didn't have sleep apnea. In fact, by this point, the entire ruse had been up between us for a while. Did y'all hear that? The entire ruse had been up between us for a while. I was 23 and she had tried to run away twice. I'd shot her with a BB gun. She'd chained me to the bed. I was getting older and much harder to control. The older I got, the more physical and harsher her punishments became. She stopped letting me use my custom-made Jazzy HD power wheelchair because she couldn't control it. I sensed she was becoming more erratic, more desperate. Only now do I see how her back was against the wall. The lie of the life she had created had gotten her thrown in jail on a list of felony charges as long as the bayou. Her watchful eye grew keener as the possibility of me standing up or speaking out became more plausible. We had achieved an unspoken standoff. I knew she was manipulative criminal. She knew nobody would believe me. Her carting me off in search of a new surgery, I believed, was her attempt to secure control. So she's trying to say that her mother was going to take her to the pulmonologist to have her throat cut open to remove her vocal cords so she couldn't talk. Like, you guys, this cannot be for real. And they put that in the book. So a pulmonologist is for lungs, and they put it in the book for the throat. Why is nobody fact checking? They just let her say whatever the fuck. And nobody fact checks what she says? This is ridiculous. We're only on page 4. Okay, so it looks like they got it mixed up because it says we were going to go ahead and meet with the pulmonologist like the ENT had just recommended. So why would the ENT recommend a pulmonologist? That doesn't make sense. If y'all didn't tell me that, I would not have known. Because I've never had like any health issues. So I have no idea what these doctors are. But like literally, you're not fact checking anything Gypsy says. She isn't, Amelia. She's never going to take accountability. Never. All right, so here she goes. She says, when the pulmonologist spoke to my mother, it's as if I wasn't even in the waiting room. Why don't we do exploratory surgery of her larynx? He suggested. A simple operation of the voice box will get to the bottom of any respiratory or vocal abnormalities. Y'all. She's so stupid. What I heard was, let's cut Gypsy's throat for no reason at all. I'd had previous surgeries on my neck. What surgery? The reduction of the salivary glands, that surgery. And the scars brutalized me. You can't even see the scar. It's like not even there. Kimber, quiet. But there was something about this particular surgery that felt more threatening than the others, even more so than all the other body parts that had been constantly searched, explored against my will, without my consent. I turned to my mother. That sounds like it hurts. I don't want it. I don't want to do it. Tears didn't form. Rage did. My mother put her arm around my shoulder and pressed me close, a signal to quiet down that had been programmed long ago. It's simple, baby. It's painless. It will help, she said, side-eyeing the doctor. What I heard was, I don't care what you want. Thank you, Shauna. Oh, yes, Shauna, we can definitely talk about narcissistic relationships. I got off of that topic because this whole book was coming out, but I'll get back on that topic if you have like questions you want to ask. Right. She's saying all this was going to happen because her mother thought that her high-pitched voice was a problem. If her mother thought it was a problem, why did she wait until she was 24 years old? Why wouldn't she have done something like this early on? If this was really true, why wouldn't she have done this early on, not when she was 24 years old? It doesn't make sense. Shauna, you can also email me if you have any questions that you want to ask. And I can always create some content to help you with that and just keep, what you tell me private. The doctor assured me that there was little risk. He knelt down to my eye level and spoke slowly to me, like English wasn't my native language. Who could blame him? He thought I had the mind of a 7-year-old, except my trapped adult brain suddenly felt the urgency to avoid the surgery at all costs. I've thought a lot about my heightened reaction in this very moment. The neck is considered the most vulnerable part of the human body, of course. I didn't make this connection while sitting in the doctor's office, but I do think we are wired to defend our most vulnerable parts. The muscles and blood vessels and nerves in the neck are easily strained and damaged. The scars on my neck from previous surgeries, she always says surgeries, when it was a reduction in the salivary glands. It wasn't even a removal, it was a reduction. Shauna, you can find my email on my main page. If you go to my home page, you'll find it there. I don't know if I can type it in. Yeah, I don't think I can type it in here right now. If you comment on one of the videos, I can also type it back. We'll figure out a way. I hate to overdo the parallels, blame it on the therapy. But so many of the medical manipulations and interventions that I went through concern the part of me that allows for expression and truth. She muzzled my mouth shut at nighttime with a CPAP machine for my fake sleep apnea. It was so unpleasant to sleep that way. I felt like someone was taking a bicycle tire pump and forcing a ceaseless stream of air up my nose. She numbed my mouth with Oragel so I drool and slur. She was responsible for my teeth falling out due to side effects of I can't pronounce this word. Superfluous medications. SUPERFLOUS. Superfluous. I don't know. One of y'all can correct me. By speaking for me and scripting my every interaction, she deprived me of finding my own voice. Now, the way I saw it, my literal voice, squeaky as it might be, could be taken from me. She's lying. Like, this is all lies. This is all lies. I'm only on chapter 1. Can you believe that? We're only on page 6, and everything that she said so far has been a lie. Like that, like how much we're only on page 6 and literally everything is a lie. It's just gonna get worse. I can feel it. I can feel it going like downhill. Yeah, that's what I heard, Flynn. I heard it gets worse. I don't know if somebody was knocking on my door. Hold on, let me cut. No, let me turn the TV on for him so he has some noise.
Nice.
There you go, buddy.
Nice. Perfect. Go with it. Go with it. Go on. Nice. Up and down. Up and down. There we go. There we go. There we go. Go on. So
Flynn, did you buy the audiobook or did you buy the paperback?
And actually get her on a boat. We went ahead and pushed off from the dock. And all I was doing the entire time was watching Lizzie. I want to see if she's having anxiety from what's going on here. I'm feeling her heartbeat. I'm feeling if she's starting to shake. I'm seeing if she's starting to pant really quickly.
He's much quieter whenever there's some noise in the background because he can't hear like all the little footsteps outside. So I try to keep like the TV on just to kind of keep the actual noise outside to a minimum. All right, so where am I at? She muzzled my mouth shut. She's acting like her mother didn't allow her to speak. And as if the CPAP machine wasn't supposed to be used to help her.
They were expecting to just come meet me, but I had a little bit of a different plan in mind.
I wouldn't allow my child to do a book report on this book. Period.
Linda's eyes lit up when she saw Lizzie for the first time.
Oh my God. So she says, now the way I saw it, my literal voice, squeaky as it might be, could be taken from me. Her final play? Like, what the fuck does that mean? Why would she take away her voice? That doesn't seem logical. My mother and the pulmonologist scheduled the operation with the same casual enthusiasm of planning a teeth cleaning. Despite my recent awakening to the reality of my life, it was here where I truly feared the scope of her malice. This surgery was completely unnecessary. Exploratory, the doctor called it. While all the other surgeries also had been unnecessary, this was the first occasion where I was privy to my mother's recklessness before the damage could be done. Was this the plan for the rest of my life? To cut me up and open piece by piece just because she could? She was making me play Russian roulette with scalpels instead of bullets. If it wasn't the voice box surgery, the odds seemed to be increasingly in favor of me dying on one of the operating tables. Mama, what if they cut me wrong and then I lose my voice and I can't talk? I don't think she would have minded that at all.
The hunter is on his way.
Okay.
Freeman the Hunter, rated R, St. Peters.
What keeps baby's skin healthy? A diaper that doesn't leave skin wet. That's why Pampers swap.
Hey Tasha, how are you?
For up to 100% return.
Oh, you see my dog in the background? Thank you. He's a good boy.
Baby skin.
Hey Violet. Okay, so everybody has corrected me and told me that a pulmonologist is for lungs, not for the throat. So if other people are reading this book, are they going to catch on to this little lie that she's saying that the pulmonologist was going to cut her throat open when the pulmonologist would not cut the throat open? Like, do you think anybody else is going to catch on to that bullshit? Or are we just lucky to have people in here that know that that's not the type of doctor for the throat?
When I did the home visit of Bob and Stacy, I found out they lived.
I know, Miss Anonymous. It's
And they expressed a lot of
it's weird. It's weird the way that she behaves. Right? I had no clue. So that's what I'm saying. Like, are there going to be other people who would know that this is, in fact, not true? Because if so, then a lot of people are going to catch on to the bullshit really quickly. I need to grab my charger.
There.
Next, Brandon incorporates movement.
Oh, what's happening? Good.
It'll be interesting to see how many people are reading the book that are going to connect the two. You know what I'm saying?
Good, Belle.
With the fundamentals down, it's time to hit the streets for a real ride.
Yeah, Natasha, she's saying that the pulmonologist was who was going to cut her throat open.
Not at all. She's wagging her tail, which means she's having fun.
I'm really trying to figure out how to stand this phone up.
Coming up,
I only have one phone stand and I couldn't figure out how to.
family's hearts.
There we go. We'll just do it like that. It is what it is.
Let's review. We're not going to talk about traffic or weather. If anyone brings up lawn care, I will handle it. Posting can be extremely difficult for young homeowners turning into their parents.
We ignored one another on the car ride home. I looked out the window, the world passing me by, more quickly now, hazier. She steered the wheel radar-like, navigating us back to the darkness of our house. Sorry.
For top-of-the-line vehicles at bottom-line prices.
There we go.
For the line, state line, Chrysler, Dodge,
Yeah, she is. It's like she constantly wants to add more to make herself appear more sympathetic. You'd think she'd at least look it up, but apparently she just assumes that everyone is going to believe what she says. And the writers of the book didn't even do their due diligence to make sure that what she was saying was true and accurate to what she is trying to, the message that she's trying to convey. Or are the writers purposely sabotaging her in her own book. It's possible. It's possible that the writers are purposely setting her up to see her fall. I mean, who knows? Anything is possible.
The first step in the process, safety.
Yeah, she wants to be able to stay a victim constantly. Oh, thank you, Flynn. I'll be reading an hour and a half every night until we get through. I feel like it's a setup, because why wouldn't they have done their due diligence and actually, like, is this the right type of doctor for this type of surgery? Or they're just assuming that she would know if this is true, right? Like, if she really knows what she's talking about, they shouldn't have to fact check, because she should know it happened to her. So we entered the door, she went one way, and I beelined to the blue medicine basin. Her pills weren't there. Waiting for her to cross the room without words, I rolled into the bedroom, which was suffocated with stuff. I didn't have to rummage too far to find the pill bottle somewhere beneath a mess of clothes and kid costumes. Hand-me-downs from well-meaning strangers. I shook 3 oxycodone into my mouth and swallowed them dry, drenched in disillusion. I'm sorry, but I've been an addict to pills, and you can't take 3 oxycodone without any fucking water. Like, you have to have something to drink. Thank you so much for the gifts. Oh, you guys are so nice. You're very welcome. I'm happy to read. I like reading.
I'm looking down at her and I'm making sure that she's in no way, shape, or form getting nervous. I didn't see any of that. In fact, her sitting on the kayak, it was no different from what I saw.
Right. People would literally report something that was unnecessary.
Wherever we go, she's gonna go with the flow.
But the real test is yet to come. Brandon must see.
Right, Michelle? Like, I'm sorry. You just don't. And oxycodone are like this big. 3 of them at one time, and you're saying that you're not taking it with any drink at all? That's bullshit.
Oh yeah. Come on, get it. She's coming.
I hope no kid would be doing a book report on this book now that everybody's saying that there's a lot of sexual information in it.
She was very comfortable. She stood.
My daughter was born in 2007, and that's when they were like prescribing pills to everybody. And even though I didn't have like any complications with my pregnancy, they still prescribed me Percocet. And they prescribed me, I can't remember how many Percocet they prescribed me, but that's what they sent me home with after giving birth. And that was the spiral of a very downward spiral of pain pills. It was that. And then I ended up having like postpartum depression with my daughter, really, really bad. So not only was it the pain pills, but it was also like, yeah, it made me feel like Supermom. It gave me a ton of energy, which is weird because it's supposed to be a depressant. But then I was mixing the Xanax and the pain pills on top of one another, and that was just, it was just a dangerous situation all the way around. Right, her mom would have definitely been paying attention to her running amok and taking pills. Especially, thank you for sharing, especially if like her mother was as controlling as she portrays it to be. Like, she really portrays her mother to be this overbearing, controlling person. If that were true, how were you possibly getting pain medication from her? Like, if the medicine cabinet was locked, she would know how many pills were in her pill bottle. And I don't believe that she was taking them to take them. I believe she was taking them to make money off of them. I believe she was selling them, not taking them. Yeah, I've talked about that before, about how the fact that she says that no attorney will take her case for medical malpractice. And that to me says a lot. Like, if no attorney will take your case, that to me tells me that there's no case to take. She would have been in withdrawal. Yeah, for sure. During her interrogation, if she was truly addicted to these pain pills like she says she is or was. But I don't believe anything this woman says. Literally, if she says it, I'm going to believe the exact opposite. Whatever it is, I'm going to believe the opposite happened. So if she says that her mom was controlling, I believe it was the other way around. I believe Gypsy was the one controlling. So anything she says, just flip it around, because that's usually what the truth is. Oh, I know withdrawal sucks. It does, especially from pain pills. It's not a very comforting situation. Yeah. That's a good point too, let's be real. That she could have been giving them away for favors.
Once Ash has gotten his sea legs, Brandon turns his
It sucks.
incoming waves.
Okay, so where are we at? I was just another thing she hoarded. High and dumb now. No, I said high and dumb. She is dumb, but it says high and numb. I craved the fantasy world Nick and I lived in, so I messaged him. Nick and his kink world of ghastly rules was my haven, where I could let him act out anger on me that I did not myself know how to express. Do you remember when you told me you'd protect me from people who want to hurt me? I asked Nick. Yes, darling. Will you still protect me? Yes, Nick answered. Even from my mother? Yes. Chapter 2.
We'll actually be able to participate in something that we do a lot for fun.
No way, Renee. She was absolutely not. No way. Okay, chapter 2 says Cajun, referring to the Acadians, the French-speaking people who migrated to South Louisiana from Nova Scotia in the 18th century and their descendants. My mama, Claudine Dee Blanchard, was all about her culture. She was about 100% born and bred French Cajun from a place called Golden Meadow in the great state of Louisiana. Golden Meadow is the southernmost incorporated area of Lafourche Parish, and you can list its local residents on the front and back of a sheet of loose leaf paper. Mama loved Cajun cooking, which requires the holy trinity of ingredients: onions, bell peppers, and celery. Her birth surname was Petrie, which means clown in French. Some people confuse it and pronounce it Petri, as in the Petri dish on the penicillin was first discovered. You don't need to listen too hard to notice a distinct dialect among those of Cajun descent who live in southern Louisiana. My mother couldn't pronounce the sound. The sound is what she's saying. So when she said, give me that, it sounded like, give me that. In fact, she H-dropped a lot. Shave off hair was shave off air. No matter how her words sounded, make no mistake, Claudine Blanchard always knew exactly what she was saying. I think when you love to tell stories like she did, you learn early on to choose your words and their delivery with precision, the better to ensnare the listener. My mother's first big lie that I know of was when she met my dad, Rod Blanchard, in 1990. Dad was 17 years old and already working as a trawler when he met my mom at the local bowling alley. I imagine my dad back in the day as a totally chill kid who got along with everyone no matter what friend group he belonged to. He just wanted to have a good time, go see live bands, and didn't expect anything from anyone. Signing himself out of school early, my dad was a hard worker, still is. At the bowling alley, my mother introduced herself to him, telling him she was 21. Like one of those 80s movies where some geeky fresh man chases after the senior homecoming queen. Dad's boy brain thought he'd score with an older woman who had her own ride, a Ford Fiesta, and could legally buy him booze and be the designated driver. He didn't know how much of an older woman she truly was. Mama was actually 23 years old. The question is, why would a woman in her 20s want an immature boy as a boyfriend? Knowing what I know now, I suspect she thought she could manipulate or control him in a way a man her age wouldn't allow. Or maybe her insecurity made her feel that a man her age wouldn't want her. She could have just thought Dad was hot. These things can all be true at the same time. So they started dating, Mama driving Dad to Biloxi to bar hop, going out to see hair bands in the NOLA club scene, frequenting the local dive bar hangout, the Greenhouse. Mama was really into music. When she was younger, she used to follow bands around. She claimed she was in a relationship with Jack Russell, the lead singer of the 80s hair band Great White. I recently told a friend of Mama's that they were both outside a concert venue waiting for a band to come out of the tour bus, and my mother managed to get a picture taken with Jack, which she framed and hung on her bedroom wall. She told anyone who saw it that Jack had mailed the photo to her because they were in a relationship, which was completely fake. Mama also claimed she was a virgin before she met my dad. And I'm not about to ask my dad his opinion on this, but I know that being a groupie and a virgin cannot be true at the same time. Why would she discuss her mother's sexuality like this? Her mother is not even alive. Like, why would she talk about this? I just find it incredibly inappropriate. And why is it so hard to believe that her mother was a virgin just because she was a groupie? Just because you're a groupie doesn't mean that you're having sex with everybody. It just means that you like hanging out with them. Like, why would she talk about this?
Dr. Garcia checks Maddie's eyes.
Yeah, Dee Dee was really, really pretty when she met Rod. This just feels weird, right? Does it feel weird to me, to you, that she's saying these things? It feels weird to me. According to stories I've heard, Mama had a thing for lead singers and wanted to be their girlfriend. Sometimes she sent flowers to herself and told people they were from various rock stars. With lies, she created lore. She was always telling stories. That was just Dee Dee. Was kneading together lies to bake a tasty story, a learned behavior from her childhood. There were plenty of secrets in the Petrie family that nobody talks about. I'm positive it's like that in most families. When you have a secret as big as the one my mother kept about her own father, Claude Petrie, who could blame her? Again, her mother has never, ever, ever discussed that her own father had done anything with her inappropriately. So why does Gypsy think that it's her place to bring up this information when her mother is not here to say that this is fact or to say that this is fiction? You cannot make up a story like this about somebody else's life when they are not here to tell their side of whether or not this is true or not. Like, this is not appropriate. at all. And I don't understand why these people would print this in this book. Why would somebody allow her to put this in a book without having facts about if this is true? This is, and they can, because now it's in print that she's saying that her grandfather inappropriately touched her mother.
My name is Gay. I live in Silver.
My mother was the baby of 6 children, and get this, of the 6, half were named after their father. Claude, Claude Jr., Claudia, and Claudine. Narcissist much?
First, with the passing of one of their 2 dogs.
Lacey is still with
Dee Dee, as Mama was called, had dreams of being a somebody. She often made it a point to remind me that she could have been that somebody if she hadn't given it all up to take care of me. By the time my mother was 12, she had gained a lot of weight. According to her, she blew up, and she tried to wrap her middle in cellophane to sweat off the fat. I can't help but think her eating disorders coincided with her gaining womanly body fat after getting her first period. What?
and more life affirming.
I don't understand why she's talking about this about her mom.
For Gay and Rob. But before that, she'll need to face her own uphill battle.
You are underweight, my little one.
This feels wrong.
Put some weight on your arm.
Coming up, Gay opens up about her personal
And with trying to purge the secret of what happened when my grandfather insisted on joining her during baths. During her 11th and 12th grade years, Mama lost close to 200 pounds. Apparently, my grandmother Emma body shamed Mama relentlessly, calling her fat. Mama began a very unhealthy diet and soon developed anorexia and bulimia. Her high school friend told me she remembers Mama eating only rice cakes for a whole year. Momsy Emma, as I called her, used to say her husband Claude was a man whore, claiming he had a wandering eye. I don't know if Emma knew what Claude was doing to Dee Dee back then. Who knows? When Mama was younger, Momsy used to keep her home from school all the time, telling her she was sick when she really wasn't. My mother told me she used to drink vinegar to make her skin snow white so she'd be more beautiful. And I guess it worked. In her senior year in 1986, Mama was South LaForge High School's ROTC queen. I never knew this track is for students who want to go to college to train to become an Army officer. How Mama loved to talk about this momentous event. She made it seem that after the crowning, she had been entered into pageants all around the state, except that wasn't true. I've come to find out that she attended pageants out of obligation of being the 1986 ROTC queen. She had not been entered in any pageants after that. I feel sad for Mama now for wanting me to believe that one pageant was so much more than what it was.
Gorgeous home. How long?
Well, it was something to her.
10-year anniversary here. September. And you're right by the beach.
She has no respect for anyone. It's disgusting.
Downtown Seal Beach is very quaint. You go to cafes.
And I'm assuming that a new dog in your life you want to do these same activities with.
Absolutely. And we'd like to take a new dog everywhere we can with us.
So tell me about your experience with dog.
We have Lacey, and she's 17.
I think it was the only time in her youth when she truly felt special and pretty. She would tell me the same stories of her glory days over and over again. How celebrities hit on her on Bourbon Street, or how musicians put her name in their songs and in the liner notes of their albums. More needing. Was she trying to get my adoration, my attention? Was she trying to make me jealous? I heard about how skinny she got, how pretty she got, and how people applauded her when she was a beauty queen. It almost seemed like she was trying to make me feel even smaller in my wheelchair with no teeth malnourished, androgynous, with no attractiveness at all. Most of the time dressed as a little boy. I think she used to have it all until I came along. I put her on a pedestal. You hear this? Gypsy thinks that she put her mother on the pedestal. I'd see pictures and think, wow, that was my mama. No wonder Claude loved her most. Maybe I didn't follow in Mama's footsteps as a beauty queen when it came to Claude, I would turn out to be his favorite, just like my mom had been. I don't know when Mama's dreams died, but by the time she met my father, she was drifting. She had tried. I remember her saying, the rest of us kids were fuck-ups. So I tried to do my mom proud by joining junior ROTC and winning a beauty pageant. At the time, 23-year-old hospital worker Dee Dee approached my father in a bowling alley. She had never been in a serious relationship that I know of, had only completed 2 years of college, and wasn't in nursing school as she had intended. She blamed the lack of achievement on having me, but I think it's the other way around. She hadn't achieved much, so caring for a chronically sick kid became the excuse or even the justification. See, Dee Dee isn't a fuck up like the rest of those kids. Poor things got Gypsy. My grandmother Sharon, my dad's mother, worked at the public library and one day noticed a book in the return bin that had Mama's name on the checkout card in the back pocket. The title was something along the lines of How to Get Pregnant Fast. Concerned, Sharon called to warn her son. If you know any 17-year-old boys, I don't need to tell you her warning fell on deaf ears. Instead, Dad confronted Mama, who became enraged that Sharon breached the confidentiality rules of the library. There are no confidentiality rules of the fucking library. What the fuck? Hey, Mandy.
Just a few weeks ago, 2-year-old Maddie came to the ranch sick and malnourished.
Next thing you know, Mama was trying to get Sharon fired. What the fuck? Like, she really is, like, dumb. Yes, Gypsy has always been jealous of how pretty her mom is.
All right, hold on. Make her feel welcome. Welcome to the Lucky Dog Ranch.
I think she just wants to continue to portray her mother as this horrible person. It's disgusting.
Class begins.
Step into my office.
It really is all over the place, too.
Knowledge of the 7 common.
Yes, Mandy. My time to blame more. Exactly.
What do you know? What do you not know?
All right. It says, I know Mama had a taste for vengeance because I often witnessed it. So it makes sense that she jumped to such a vindictive act. You'd think she would have cared about the risk that her boyfriend's mother could end up hating her. Characteristically, my mother got very defensive and felt slightest by the smallest actions, even if they weren't done on purpose. Now, I'm just going to say, anytime that she says anything about her mom being defensive or jealous, I am going to assume that it's Gypsy talking about herself and projecting it onto her mother. Let's just get that out there, because I think that Gypsy projects a lot of her own feelings onto her mother or anyone else that she's talking about. It's like constantly putting those feelings onto someone else and saying that they're the ones. She'd read into things, make assumptions about what people were thinking, take unrelated actions as personal affronts, and would shut them down in any way she could. Mama also ran from situations and conflict a lot. Later in my life, I think she graduated from defense to paranoia. This made it very difficult for her to have relationships, especially with her siblings. Her paranoia was partly why she isolated us from the world. Long story short, the pregnancy book worked because, well, here I am. In order to gather an understanding of my mother and my own birth story, I've had to endure some TMI moments with Dad and his wife of 30 years, Christy. The tale is as old as time. Rod wasn't in love with Dee Dee, but he was brought up with a sense of duty that told him to marry her. It was the right thing to do when you get a girl pregnant. They had sex 3 times in their entire relationship and didn't consummate their marriage. Dee Dee didn't fuss too much about that. Maybe she had gotten what she wanted out of Rod already. Because Dad was a minor, because he was a minor, Dad needed his own mother's signature to consent to the marriage. The reception and ceremony were at the VFW in Golden Meadow, Louisiana on December 27th, 1990. On the way there, Dad and one of his groomsmen got in a wreck and totaled Mama's Ford Fiesta. Dad was arrested for driving without a license, and he used his phone call to ask Mama's parents, Claude and Emma, to bail him out so he could make it to the hall to marry their daughter. Once they all arrived at the altar, Dad didn't have the rings. In the middle of the ceremony, my dad's best man, Terry, literally ran out of the VFW and all the way back to Grandma Sharon's house to fetch the rings from the kitchen counter. After the wedding reception, Dad and Mama partied at the greenhouse where Dad was chatting up with his high school friends and old girlfriends, and did a shot at the bar with his best friend Christy, who worked at the same local hospital as Mama. Christy had been invited to the wedding but declined, saying she had other plans. A lie Christy was awkwardly caught in as Mama ran into her at the greenhouse. Dad looked handsome in his all-white tux, which had become playfully disheveled with his shirt untucked and his tie unknotted. His mission, get drunk as a skunk, which he did. Mission accomplished. Mama and Dad's wedding night was spent in Claude and Emma's house in the upstairs bedroom where they planned to live for a while. At the age of 17, my dad was already working as a full-time fisherman, trawling for shrimp. He had signed himself out of high school as soon as he legally could to follow his own father's footsteps in the family trade. Trawling is a type of commercial fishing that involves a boat pulling a weighted fishing net behind it through the water on the seafloor to target certain fish and seafood species, including a Louisiana staple, shrimp. My dad worked on a shrimp boat with 20-foot nets that had mouths as large as Moby Dick, swallowing up shrimp wherever they were hiding in lakes, rivers, causeways, and the bayou. Trawling is hard work, especially when emptying the shrimps from the nets and putting them on ice and storing them. Dad would be gone for weeks at a time. Even today, his job as a boat captain requires him to work for the boat for a month straight. At least once Mama had me, she'd have the help of her own Mama and Dad while he was gone. Being away from home so much made it convenient for Dad to play around behind Mama's back. Seeing other women without getting caught is a lot easier when you aren't expected home, and Dad went a little overboard, no pun intended, with his affairs. Ultimately, he got caught with a young girl around the same age as my dad came around looking for Mama's help, or at least that's the story Mama told me. The girl wanted money from Mama for an abortion because Rod had gotten her pregnant. My mother, being Catholic, was not pro-choice, but said she wouldn't aid this stranger in getting an abortion, but she did have extra diapers and formula of mine that she'd give her to help. The other girl decided to keep the baby, and today I have a half-sister almost the same age as me who doesn't live far away. She seems like a really great girl, raised by her mama and her stepdad, whom she considers her father. She reached out to me once I was in prison. She was gracious and kind to me, and I only wish her the very best and only happiness. Sorry, it's hard not to digress in my storytelling, as the more I investigate, the more twists and turns of my colorful family unwind. With the other woman out of the picture, Dad and Mama were still having a bit of a sex problem. Again, why does she thank you for the heart puff. Why does she think that it's okay for her to discuss her mother's sex life when she wasn't there in her sex life? Like, that's gross.
I know shoestrings, I know Chris cut, I know
Yeah, I did notice that. Let's that be real. She's always talking about how handsome her dad is. That's why she wanted to be with Ken, because he looks almost exactly like her dad, which is fucking disgusting too. Right. He did not care about her at all growing up, and now all of a sudden he's the home hero. It's weird how much she puts him on this pedestal for literally doing nothing. Nothing for her. Where was I at? They had a little bit of a sex problem in that they weren't having any. They hadn't officially consummated their marriage, and with Dad away so much and seeing other women, the last time they'd had sex was when I was conceived. My dad went back and forth on how to leave Mama, starting almost immediately after the wedding. For almost 3 months, Rod called Christy asking for advice for a way out of the marriage. Over and over again, he said to her, I want to leave Dee Dee, but I don't know what to tell her. Tell her the truth. Tell her how you feel, was Christy's answer. Rod even went to Christy's mom for help, since she'd watched him grow up. Finally, on the morning of his 18th birthday, March 25th, 1991, my dad packed his things while Mama slept. What do you think you're doing? She asked when the rustling awakened her, pulling the blankets off and sitting up. Dee Dee, I'm leaving you. I don't love you. This is wrong. I did this for the wrong reasons. Without words, Mama popped up from her bed, ripped the frame marriage license off the wall, and threw it across the room. I don't think this is when my mother's man-hating began. I think she always hated them. Men might be nice to look at, she'd say, but they'll betray you in a heartbeat. Better to just stay away from them all. So I did until I didn't. Yeah. In the first 2 chapters, this is incredibly unstable. She's all over the place. And I can't understand for the life of me why the writers would allow her to jump back and forth like this and there not be like a cohesive nature to the book. It seems confusing, to say the least.
She seemed like she accepted her just fine into the family. Good girl, man. Good girl.
It was really cool seeing Maddie and Lacey meet like this. Once I saw
I have never, ever once thought about my mom and my dad having sex. Never. Never. Nor would I want to write about it in a book. It's inappropriate. She constantly writes things and says things and does things that are inappropriate. It's like she does not know where to draw the line. Okay, we're on chapter 3, but I said I was only going to read for an hour and a half. I don't know if we can get through chapter 3 in 20 minutes. We can try. Or we can just kind of talk about chapter 1 and chapter 2.
Make us all happier as a result.
It just feels complete when you have a pet at home that you can come home to and play with and cuddle with.
from hopeless.
Sorry, I'm trying to get
That's my mission.
us.
One dog at a time.
It's so weird. Yeah, she has absolutely no self-awareness. And I don't know. On my floor. Oh, it's a little kid's toy. It's my grandson's little Paw Patrol thing. Those are his Christmas presents. I need to wrap them up.
Yes, I was. I definitely was, yes.
Oh, the countertop.
And I've dedicated my life to saving
I wonder if Bree is reading the book or if Gypsy like gave her a free copy of it. You know what I mean? Like, did she give her a free copy? I'm struggling to keep this up.
Today, one dog will be saved,
There we go.
and one family will have a new best friend.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, my son is 19.
Presented by Coast Joint Health Supplements.
I just think it's weird that she would bring up all these.
After being hit by a car and suffering nerve damage in his
How?
determined Maltese mix is
If this book is supposed to be her memoir, her memory, whatever, why is she writing about things that she has no memory of? She would not have any memory of her mom and dad's sex life at, 1 month old or whatever. So why would she even put that in the book? It just feels weird.
Alright. Duty calls. We gotta go.
You're right.
The shelter just
She wouldn't. She wouldn't ever give anything away for free.
They found roaming the streets as a stray.
He probably hasn't read the book.
She was completely covered in grease, oil, and dreadlocks.
The hypersexuality is from
So, we get down
the chromosome deletion.
Was that you? Are you the loud one here?
It talks about the hypersexuality, the mood problems,
Muffin eventually found herself on the streets alone.
like a lot of the
You're in bad shape.
a lot of the problems that she has
On the streets for a long time.
stem from the chromosome deletion.
Yeah, I thought you would listen to that. I mean, there you go.
You like that?
And free. There we go. There we go.
I don't know. I haven't gotten that far. If anyone else has read the entire book and knows if she mentions it, please drop it in the comments.
Well,
I have no clue.
from the shelter, as you can see, she.
My dog is a poodle.
I think I can take awful to awesome for you.
How long?
Just give me a couple hours.
Okay. Thanks for coming.
I like to do the tropical tie-dye and the strawberry together and then roll them up and eat them like this. So I get both flavors in one. You want to go on to chapter 3?
After a few hours of pampering, Muffin's big makeover is complete.
Oh, okay, that's an improvement. That's a definite improvement.
Look at the color. Look how much lighter we are.
She doesn't even think that what she's doing is exactly the same as what her mother did. Like, that's how narcissistic and unaware
Accessory.
she is.
Color.
There you go.
Like, why would she even ask him?
Thanks, Chanel. Great job as usual.
Seriously, why would she ask her dad about
Back at the ranch,
her dad and her mom's sex life? Or is this just made up?
Welcome to the Lucky Duck.
It's one of the two. Either she made it up and it's all bullshit,
after
or she actually talked to her dad about
caring home,
her mom and her dad's sex life.
and the Kozak
Either way, it's gross.
could be the perfect solution.
My name is Joan, and I live here with my husband, Mark, my son, Jared, and we have another son who lives up north right now in school.
Though recently retired, the Kozak's active lifestyle hasn't slowed down.
Mark and I like to golf,
She's gross.
go on walks. We also like to have a lot
That's one thing that I do know about Gypsy, is that she's a disgusting human being. Whoopsie.
of our time is spent with our son, Jared. He has Down syndrome, and he's very involved in Special Olympics.
I do track and
Hold
field,
on.
but I am going to play golf next year.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, you guys. I need to open these messages really quick.
Though the Kozaks
And respond.
always had dogs, their home has been void of a furry friend since the loss of their beloved Labrador.
I lost 2 dogs, and it really does hurt a lot.
My wife and my son, we talked about this, and we said, you know what? Maybe
Um,
it's time to rescue a dog.
We just want the dog that maybe people are overlooking. We want that dog because we know that they need a home.
Back at the ranch, Muffin begins her lucky dog education.
All right, let's do this. What do you know?
Sorry, I'm like trying to do 3 things at once. I'm trying to eat this is my dessert. I probably should not be eating fruit roll-ups as dessert, but they're only 50 calories, so.
Tell me again, you sit? Are you a meerkat?
Not surprisingly, Muffin knows very few of the commands.
That's one thing that I don't really understand is she does not understand how all of these interactions that she has had throughout her entire life are going to affect her daughter. Like this book right here and all the sexual innuendos. How embarrassing for a child to not only have a mommy unaliver as a mother, but
I was going to ask, why do you want a dog now? I think that confirms it right there. I think it's definitely time.
visibility limited. I guess somebody came in here and didn't like what I said. Anyway, not only does her daughter have to have a mommy unaliver as a mother, but also has to read about her sexual preferences, the kink, and all of the things that she's done behind closed doors. It's embarrassing. And she doesn't even consider what her child is going to have to suffer as a result of her actions and her behaviors. And that's the sad part. I don't know why they restricted me. Did I say something wrong?
So cool, man. All right, we're going to take a chance.
It's all. I knew this day was coming.
Why don't we just talk about this?
No.
1.5-year-old Muffin is getting a new lease on life.
Good.
But making the jump from scrappy stray to obedient student isn't always easy. Especially when it means turning down free food with a no command.
Sorry, I'm trying to reschedule a client that isn't able to do tomorrow.
Encouraged by Muffin's
Oh yeah, that was funny. And that outfit she wore to court, like what?
doctors, the Cossacks.
So tell me a little bit about yourselves. What kind of hobbies do you all do as a family?
I think that she thinks having a baby is dressing the baby up to look like a play doll. And that's not what it is. This girl has probably never even been around a baby. How does she think she's going to take care of a child? Has she had any parenting classes? Has she done anything? Does she even know how to change a diaper?
My next question, I was going to ask, why do you want a dog now? But I think that confirms it right there. I think it's definitely time. So what kind of dog are you all looking for?
I'm sorry, Shauna.
We kind of wanted a smaller dog, one that could sit with us up on the couch.
She's wearing
A little bit easier with us.
I have rescued
she's
dogs.
wearing like old lady penny loafers.
Figured lifestyle. And she's about a 1.5-year-old terrier mix. But right now I'm just getting to know her. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and send someone to your house to check your dog, your house out, and make sure it's adequate for a dog. And assuming everything checks out, we'll keep moving forward.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Talk soon. So now I know the family a little better. I can form a game plan. It looks like I have a lot of work ahead of me.
Coming up, Muffin's obsession with food creates an unsavory new problem.
Excuse you. You really matters? Apparently not.
Whoops.
Here's a health and wellness tip from Cosequin Joint Health Supplements. We all know that a proper diet and exercise can play a vital role in your dog's health. But did you know that grooming is just as important? That's right. Brushing your dog's coat can help reduce shedding, uncover changes in your dog's skin, and reveal
After I eat this, we'll get back on them. We'll do chapter 3.
Also important, as they help calm irritated skin, reduce the opportunity for parasite infestations and leave your dog smelling puppy fresh. But remember, overbathing is discouraged since it can strip your dog's skin of its natural oils.
Let's get this party started!
This is so cool, man. They want to start selling some of this stuff now.
I'm sorry. Oh my God, Marcy. I'm dying laughing. Oh my God.
Was surviving on the streets. Now she's
Let me get it together
smarts into an education.
so I can read that comment, y'all. Okay.
But when
Marcy said,
old habits die hard.
where'd it go? Marcy said, those pregnant photos look like a mortician fixed her up to be placed in a coffin for viewing.
Backyard barbecues. A baking habit could be a deal. So Brandon immediately jumps into action.
And the no socks with those with those penny loafers. Oh my God.
Making sure to leave enough slack for mom to stand up, but not walk away from the bed.
Trust me, you like a lot of
That was too funny. I needed that laugh.
The leash keeps her grounded. Eventually, Muffin settles down.
Okay.
And when she does, Brandon rewards her good behavior with
Whew.
treats.
There you go.
My eyes are like watering over here from that.
Catch
Okay.
on. Brandon removes his foot from the leash and unclips her entirely.
So apparently,
Rather than begging,
and I don't know how true this is because, you know, Katie Joy isn't the most credible source, but she was saying,
adequate for a dog.
that because Gypsy has this past already with
I think we're ready. We've had dogs in the past.
violence against somebody that like lived in her home, that it's possible that DCFS will already be like involved right when the baby gets born. I don't know how true that is. I tried to look up the information to see if it was credible information or not. I couldn't find anything because it looked as though that information only really applied if while the child was born there was active violence in the home between the mother and the child or the mother and the father of the child. So I don't know if that's something that could actually happen, but it's possible considering all of the evidence that they have. This book as well, like there's just so much evidence that CPS could have in order to, you know, file a junction to get that child removed. Because hey Mandolin Bay, because she's not a suitable caregiver by any stretch of the imagination.
Mark maintains the lot himself, and it's manicured, it's lovely. You can see all the work that Mark has done maintaining the lawn and the landscape. It's really spectacular. What is really striking about your property is its proximity to this golf course. Golf courses have done a really good job to work with environmental organizations to create genuine urban habitat for animals and insects and birds. So we coexist. Look how your hedge and this big mature tree, they're providing all this shade, so it's so much cooler over
Hold
there.
on, I'm gonna get back going in just a second. I'll finish that in a minute. Yes, I hope you're doing well as well.
Fruit on this one.
That's not a car, it's a dwarf of a car.
Renee, I would definitely go for a closed casket if I had to look like that too. She has absolutely no style, like none at all. I know what it's like to be a short person and feel like options are limited when it comes to clothing because you are short. But there's a lot of really, really cute clothes, especially for pregnant women whenever you are short. So there's a lot of really good options out there, like maternity clothes and that sort of thing. I just don't think that she understands like how to have style. It's like she just doesn't have any style. It's like she sees things on the internet that she thinks that she would look good in, and instead of like going out and actually trying the clothes on to see how they will look on her, she just buys it offline and then throws it away if she doesn't like it.
But did you know that mature trees and hedges are equally purposeful? That's right.
You don't need a filter here, girlfriend.
They also create oxygen.
Yeah, she has no class, and money doesn't change that. Unfortunately, money just gives you more money to buy the wrong kind of shit. Yes, Danny DeVito. I forgot about him in that movie where My Cousin Vinny. You know what I'm talking about. All right, so this is chapter 3, and it's called Share. Yeah, Crazy Craft Jen, she was saying that her mom dressed her up like a boy all the time, but I think she just didn't like getting dressed. I think she was fucking lazy and didn't like actually having to get up and put clothes on. Marcy's very funny. Okay, so this says terms of endearment, love, or dear. I don't know what this means. My father was not present at my birth. As I wrestled my way out of my mama, he was getting wasted and tripping on acid with his friends for 4 days at the Tarpon Rodeo, a fishing tournament over on Grand Isle. Minutes old and swaddled sweetly, I imagine my gaze enchanting my mother with a love and a fixed attention she had never known. And that's when I decided I was not to be shared. No, and that's when she decided I was not to be shared. When they cut the cord that connected us, defensively, she held me tighter. It was just me and mama against the world, she'd say, from the get-go. Even when my dad decided very soon after my birth that he would give it another go at Dee Dee and try to make it work, and moved all of us into a rented house not far from Claude and Emma, I appreciate the fact that my dad, still so young and carefree, would love me enough to attempt to give me a family he thought I deserved. But yet she doesn't have any nice things to say about her mother taking care of her as a sick child, as a single mother, literally having to con people so that she could afford to pay rent, food, and pay for her medical bills. Why does she put her dad on this pedestal? Why does he get all this praise and her mom gets nothing? It's like she has absolutely no respect for her mother at all.
Luckily, a last-minute business trip to San Francisco offers Brandon and Muffin the perfect opportunity to buckle up and give them...
I don't think she deserves to have children. She killed a person. Like, she unalived another human being. She does not deserve to have children. No, I don't think she should. I think they should have sterilized her in prison.
She and Brandon take a sightseeing stroll around the city, where Brandon gives her the ultimate stamp.
Right. He's getting drunk and tripping on acid, and he's father of the year? Like, what the fuck?
It's the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Her mother sacrificed more than Gypsy will ever even know, and she's too selfish to even understand what her mother actually did for her. Like, everything that her mother did for her. She's such a selfish, sociopathic, unaware human being who feels entitled to everything. Yeah, she just feels entitled. She feels entitled to everything. And all of a sudden, Christy is stepmom of the year too. It's like, these people were not around, not in your life, did not make phone calls, did not even try to help in any way, shape, or form. But now all of a sudden that your mother is gone, they're the parents that, you've always wanted. Like, get over yourself. They're not good people either. Yes, one of the unnecessary surgeries should have been a hysterectomy or a tubal ligation and not tell her. Like, it should have gone as far as giving her the tubal ligation, but not telling her that she got it. You know what I'm saying?
Joint health supplements. 1.5-year-old Muffin had a tough start.
She, if y'all don't watch Radiant Brit, she's a trip. I love it when she calls Gypsy a little gremlin. It's so funny.
I have a family meeting here.
Okay, so it says, my dad gave us financial support, but let's face it, he was still a kid, and whatever he strung together didn't help my mother afford the rented house. So she asked her parents if she and I could move in and stay with them for a while until my mother could get on her feet. She had quit the hospital where she'd worked as a nurse's aide. We told you, you should have never got pregnant, and you should have never married Rod in the first place, Momsy Emma said, adding a click of the tongue for good measure. But fine, you can stay here. That's when Mama and I moved back to the blue house, where we would live until I was about 5 years old. After my arrest, my story swept the world as an egregious example of Munchausen syndrome by proxy, a psychological condition in which a parent or caregiver claims their dependent, typically a child, has non-existent illnesses. But I see now that my upbringing encompassed way more dysfunction than that. My mother's possessiveness tortured me as equally as the faked illnesses and unneeded surgeries. I'm still peeling back the layers that revel elements of control and complete domination, which she established using several techniques over multiple domains of my life, not just my healthcare. I don't want to believe she was conscious of her ways. It's so hard to believe that, but at the same time, I am haunted by the possibility that perhaps she did have awareness of the depth of the emotional pain she was causing and simply lacked empathy for me. This is what I think that she's talking about herself and just like projecting onto her mom. I think Gypsy was the one who didn't have awareness or the ability to have emotional, that Gypsy lacked empathy. I think that all of this is Gypsy.
He did make it happen, didn't he?
Yeah, she definitely should not be responsible for raising a child when she isn't even mature enough to take care of herself. It's clear she's not. I mean, listen to this book. This sounds like a 10-year-old wrote it. If she knew my pain, empathized with how it might feel to be locked away, prodded, and lied to, she wouldn't have done it in the first place, right? And if she couldn't put herself in my shoes and feel what I felt, does that mean she also didn't feel bad about it? To possess someone, you must see them not as a person, but as an object, like property. This is Gypsy. She's telling us to possess someone, you don't see them as a person. You see them as an object, as property. That's her. The literal meaning of possession is to physically take over the property. From the first gaze in the hospital, it was me and Mama against the world. No bad men, no intruders. My birth certificate was her deed to a property rightfully hers. The takeover had begun. Before it was a physical takeover in the form of controlling my body's functions, it was an emotional one. I grew up dreamy-eyed for Mama. When you're little, your world is so small. I had my mother, my bedroom, and my dolls. I was a sucker for dolls. My early memories are of my mother promising a new doll to me if I would just see a new doctor, have a new procedure, nod in agreement, not ask why, hold my tongue. Many say Mama was manipulative, holding the dolls over me like that. But getting the doll was my end game, so wasn't I a willing participant? I was too young at that time for me to blame myself now, but I do wonder if I helped my mother do the things she did to me, to the system, and to my dad. Dolls were commerce clauses in a long-term agreement between me and my mom, but they were also a symbol of innocence and purity. Mama preferred that I not play with Barbie dolls. She didn't want me to see the anatomy, no matter how poorly scaled, of a woman. So, what's the difference between a doll and a Barbie? Don't they both have anatomy? And if she didn't want you playing with Barbie dolls, why would she allow you to have a regular doll? This just doesn't even make sense. Dolls have the same stuff. You can see the same stuff on every doll. On the Barbie, it's a little bit bigger, right? But nonetheless, it's, yeah, they, like, I don't understand. If I were to undress a doll to change its clothes, I was to see a baby's body without bulges or bumps. Clean, she'd call it. The accessories for a baby doll were a baby bottle and a stroller, not a provocative hot tub or a dream house. The baby doll's companion was its mommy, not a Ken doll, which would have prompted more questions my mother didn't want to address. I don't get this. What is she even talking about?
Hang out with me. I really like to have a dog to come home from work to. Somebody there to like.
Right, Flynn? Isn't that what I'm hearing? That she is sexualizing the doll? That's fucking weird.
Long enough now where we know this is going to be his life forever. So he's ready to have a forever companion.
I don't understand. I am so confused about why she would inappropriately discuss the doll's body parts. This almost sounds like porn.
She seemed really comfortable going up and down the steps.
Good job, Lee.
Right? Am I crazy to say that this sounds like corn in a weird way? I wonder if I had the opportunity for Ken to play with Barbie, would my mother have known about Daddy Claude sooner? What? Let me read this one more time. I wonder if I'd had the opportunity for Ken to play with Barbie, would my mother have known about Daddy Claude sooner? I don't understand what this is supposed to mean.
This first lesson is all about getting Lady used to the kayaking equipment.
And so I put a treat into the bed as we step into the kayak, and she jumps right in, eats the treat, and now I'm just treating her for staying in the kayak. After she's comfortable enough,
this is so weird. Keep reading up. Okay.
Yes.
At first, the shame was inflicted was subliminal, like implying that our natural naked state is dirty by preferring clean. But soon enough, Mama became more literal in what she expected from my body. Breasts were sinful and to be covered. Pubic hair was dirty and should be shaved off. Now, as I write this, I wonder if the kind of brainwashing about my sexuality was really a means for me to be complicit in hiding my puberty from the outside world, to keep me young and consistent with her documentation. Regardless, for much of my life, I felt confused and conflicted about my womanhood. As I do the work for remembering the timeline of my life with her, imagining our first moments together in the maternity ward, being dressed as her mini-me, being drafted into a united front against a family she, for whatever reason, felt ostracized from, I don't feel hatred towards my mother. I've come to see that my mother wanted me to keep my world small as a child's, possibly because hers became bigger and bigger. She got scared away in my memories from between 5 and 9 years old. Our relationship felt like an innocent love, surrounded by toys resembling the small world, not the real world. Fisher-Price little people with their barreled bodies and their little cars, and my living room in a little Section 8 apartment in the Golden Meadow Projects, where we moved after we left the Blue House. After Momsy Emma died and Daddy Claude decided to marry Laura, a local nurse who had worked with Mama, and Daddy Claude had a long-standing relationship with. In the confines of our home, I never called my mom Mama, at least not very often, and she rarely called me Gypsy. Names have history. They're bigger than nicknames. Nicknames reduce a person to one small trait, safe and definable. Around the house, as I watched The Lion King for the 100th time, or pretended to feed kibble to my stuffed Rajah tiger from Aladdin, my mother called me baby and I called her honey.
Did you know that on hot summer days,
Honey and baby were safe and had no past. My mother's love was in the present and not small at all. She was my honey and I was her baby. Our terms of endearment could be easily swapped with those of a newlywed couple intoxicated by each other's pheromones. Honey, I'd call out to her with my arm outstretched and bottle in hand. More, honey, more. This is disturbing. I see now I was her emotional support surrogate very early on. Our dynamic resembling a couple instead of a mother-daughter duo. I'm all for the idea of us against the world. If you are a fierce single mom raising strong daughters, modeling what can be accomplished when you stick together. But our us against the world looked more like her sticking to me. While I was very young, that stickiness was sweet like molasses. No one's ever going to take as good care of you as me, baby, she'd say. Molasses, if stored right, can last for hours before it begins to mold over. And for years, we were each other's companions. We bathed together, slept in the same bed together, watched the same daytime TV programs. Her interest in sci-fi and fantasy and the People's Court became my interest. When I showed my own curiosity for things separate from her, like Barbie dolls, she'd be there to deflect. Now, you don't want those dolls when you have so many stuffed animals to play with. I don't want Barbie. There's power in numbers, and in my mom's paranoid defensive mind, it had always been Claude and his other 5 children against Dee Dee, especially after Momsy and Emma passed. She and her brothers and sisters were like the neighboring towns of LaForce Parish, stacked one right after the next, separated by invisible boundary lines that kept them out of each other's borders. One of Mama's brothers brought his invisible limit line out in clear view when he kicked us out of our home. After Momsy Emma died, Claude moved out of the Blue House and bought a new home with his second wife, Laura, leaving me and my mama to live in the Blue House. But didn't she say that when Claude and Laura married that they moved out of the Blue House?
And the enthusiastic student is a quick learner.
Yes.
In no time, she's earned her silver medal.
This is weird. But Mama told me that my uncle claimed Momsy Emma had verbally promised him that he'd get the house after she died. And he wanted what was rightfully promised to him. So one day after Mama and I came home from one of my doctor's appointments, we found all of our stuff out on the front porch and lawn. I remember seeing my Uncle Pookie and my mama yelling at one another on the porch. My mama told me that my uncle and his wife and his kids had moved in and kicked Mama and me out. We're officially homeless, she said. Even though I was about 5 years old, I still remember feeling unsafe when I saw my favorite toys and dolls and nightgowns strewn out on the lawn like that. I wasn't yet in the wheelchair, but Mama already had doctors treating me for asthma, sleep apnea, hearing and vision impairments, and epilepsy, which she claimed were caused by a chromosomal deficiency. So she does mention the chromosomal deficiency.
After Petal gets used to this, Eric starts rollerblading slowly around the room.
She had taken me out of kindergarten to be homeschooled. Okay, there's a lot of contradictions in this because
How will Petal react to the rollerblades while...
yeah, there's no way that true authors wrote this book. It sounds like Gypsy wrote it herself with what little education she has. There's a lot of contradictions in this already because whenever she did the confessions, jailhouse confessions, whatever it was, she talked about them getting kicked out when she was like 8 or 9 because her mother was supposedly poisoning Laura. Remember? And that Laura and them, they were all still living in that blue house.
Coming up, it's time for Petal to get her new life rolling.
Wow.
Good job, Petal.
Good girl.
It's possible that they did get tired of proofreading because I'm sure she had a lot to say. There's just so many contradictions in this book. It doesn't even make sense. It doesn't go to girl. Hey, Michelle, it doesn't go together. None of it goes together from like the timeline of things that she's already mentioned to us before. It sounds like she's backtracking and she's not getting her times right. Because in Confessions, she said that they kicked her and her mom out when she was 8 years old, 8 or 9, because Dee Dee was supposedly poisoning Laura. In a later conversation with Uncle Pookie, he explained to me that the argument he and Mama had on the porch was sparked by him questioning my mother about my mysterious bad health, telling her she needs to be in school, Dee Dee. Why is she not being schooled? Never one to be told what to do. My mother did what she did best, ran away from those who had my best interests at heart. Now she's lying again, saying that the reason why they left was because people were questioning her mother's motives. That's not what she said before. Yeah, I think Dee Dee was trying to protect everybody from Gypsy. I would not put it past, and I know this is a big stretch, I would not put it past Gypsy to SA one of the other kids in the family because of her desires and her, like the way that she speaks. I would not put it past. I mean, COCSA is a real thing, child on child SA, like it's a real thing. And I believe her mother was trying to protect those other children from her. Absolutely 100%. She's disgusting. She's a disgusting human being, and I can see her preying on, I can see her preying on these other kids and doing things inappropriately because she's been hyper sexual since she was like 5. Like, it's weird. I anticipate, hold on, where did I go? Ran away from those who had my best interests at heart just because she couldn't handle being told she was wrong. Nobody told Mama she was wrong, not even the doctors. I anticipate I will continue to uncover thousands of lies that pixelate the reality my mother designed for me, as if I'd been living in a simulation all those years. For a short period of time, after we were kicked out, Mama and I stayed at her godmother's house, but soon we got kicked out of there too, since I later learned Mama was caught stealing checks out of her godmother's checkbook. I don't know if she was that desperate for money or if she was just wanting to steal, but right after that we bounced to New Orleans for a while, where we lived rent-free for weeks in the Ronald McDonald House. You're not supposed to stay so long, but once we were approved, we finally moved to the Golden Meadow Projects, where I lived until I was 9. Oh, now all of a sudden she knows her age. And she knows where she was at until she was 9 years old. What did I miss? You guys are having a good conversation.
Opportunities with the inclusion of chairs, tables, and other outdoor furniture.
Yeah, she's got a lot of psychological issues. A lot. Mama knew how to get approved for a lot of things and lived off the system. So I'm not sure if remanding me to a wheelchair was part of the scheme or if it was a symptom of her Munchausen by proxy. Mama scored 3 different government-issued phones because she applied for different benefits for different reasons. We lived in Section 8 housing. We were both on Medicaid. I was confined to a wheelchair after I was in a motorcycle accident when I was 8 years old. Daddy Claude had a Harley, and I went riding one day on the back. Reacting to a car that had cut us off, Daddy Claude swerved out of the way and sideswiped us off the road. I was bleeding when we returned to Mama. After she found out what happened, she rushed me to the hospital, where I was cleared of anything other than road rash. I went home with an ace bandage, and she nursed me as if I had an amputation. She bought me a walker, sent me for physical therapy, and after a few months came home with a wheelchair, which I was relegated to permanently. I learned recently that Mama's family members got on Mama for putting me in the wheelchair, but that only made her run away with me. At first, she told people I lost use of my legs from the accident, but as we moved around, her stories became more elaborate. She told some people my imaginary seizures damaged the motor function part of my brain. She was really strict when it came to me being still, which is why I was never allowed out of the wheelchair, even in the privacy of our home, which is bullshit because Flynn, we're almost done with this one. Which is bullshit because you could see that in that house, there was no way a wheelchair could get around. No way. Where am I at? At first, she told people I lost the use of my legs from the accident, but as we moved around, her stories became more elaborate. She told some people my imaginary seizures damaged the motor function part of my brain. She was real strict when it came to me being still, which is why I was never allowed out of the wheelchair, even in the privacy of our own home. I had to maintain the habit. By the time I was in my teens, she harped on me. Gypsy, I see you moving your legs, she'd say with a rap to my knee. Stop moving them. I don't see this. I don't see this happening because if she was not using her legs at all, she would have had literally no muscle tone. None. And she did. She had muscle tone. Mama's health was not the best, as she often reminded me, especially when she wanted to get me to behave or do something I didn't want to do. You know, I'm not feeling well, baby. Why you sassing me? She said she was bipolar and had schizophrenia, but it's unclear whether those were legitimately diagnosed. I did bear witness to her frightening highs and lows. Her type 2 diabetes, which was medically documented, required her to take insulin. It wasn't odd for a woman of her size who lived on Pepsi and milk and the thought of having to drink water as a punishment to have diabetes. I think that she's talking about herself. I think that Gypsy was the one who survived off of, Pepsi. She was on pain meds because the fusion she had in her leg after a car accident never fully took, causing her chronic debilitating pain, all paid for by disability and Social Security. With me playing the role of the sick child who required government checks and help from charities and her own compromised health, Mama held me as her shield, her weapon against ever needing her family's assistance again. And she sent Daddy Claude a clear message to that effect. My mother and I attended his wedding ceremony to Laura, all dressed in black.
Going home to his new forever family. And that means it's time for Rossi to say goodbye.
I'm gonna miss you, Cheese. We love you.
All right, big guy.
I don't understand how any of this could be written and none of it be fact checked.
Oh my goodness, look who it is.
Sheen.
It was really cool to see them really warm up to him right off the bat.
This is Melissa Mastrosani or Michelle Mastrosani. I can't understand the life of me why she would put her name on this book. Why? Why? If she is a New York Times bestselling author, why would she risk her reputation on Gypsy Rose Blanchard? I don't understand. Yeah, Flynn, let's chat, because there was a lot going on in that chapter. A lot, like a lot.
I could see him in a full time.
She should have to pay Social Security back. Like that should be something that should have to happen, because like
Fantastic, super surprise.
it was all money taken. And I guess because she needed it. She needed it.
Gold medal. I was just so happy for him.
Alright guys, it's all yours.
Oh, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you so
welcome. My
much.
pleasure. Alright, cheese.
You doing okay?
The phase she uses about Daddy Blanchard is revealed in chapter 4. We're gonna do that tomorrow, chapter 4.
Julie and Eddie are going to be.
Yeah, this is not gonna end well for her, this book.
All these adventures.
I cannot see this ending well for her at all, because there's a lot of misinformation in this book. You know what I'm saying? Like the lot of misinformation.
Involvement in activities like kayaking, bike riding, rollerblading, or even just snuggling in a cozy bed can mean the world.
From hopeless to a home. That's our mission. One dog at a time.
Today on Lucky Dog, an 8-month-old collie lab mix is surrendered by her family.
There was a wheelchair for Dee Dee and there was a wheelchair for Gypsy.
Fortunately, a new potential family expresses interest in roofing.
I want Christina, I want her back in prison too. The whole thing is misrepresented. I can't even believe that she is proud of this. Like,
Just put a collar on her and teach her to heal.
we're only in chapter 4, and how many times has she brought up something sexual? It's literally every single page. It's like a pornographic book.
Today, one dog will be saved, and one family will have a new best friend.
Yeah, it's her confession. It's the
Lucky dog.
It's the OJ's version of If I Did It.
Today, Brandon is in South Salem, New York, visiting the Wolf House.
It's not a good book. It's very sickening, and yes, there should be like one of those explicit things on it so that people know that nobody under 18 should be reading this book.
We do our best to put information.
The dolls is just gross. Like, I don't understand why she would even bring that up.
Federal programs for the Mexican gray wolf and the
Like, why would you even bring that up?
Facility for a whole new facility. We've had wolves released into the wild from our facility.
Can you draw me a straight line?
Yeah.
Stop moving. Doesn't work, right? Then stop moving while I'm cutting your hair.
And her team with a special task.
Can you draw me a straight line?
Do not have gloves. Do not grab a puppy. They have
Stop
very sharp teeth and they
Doesn't work, right? Then
He'll be assisting veterinarian Jess D'Amico.
Let me go grab my medicine.
16-week-old.
Yeah, there definitely needed to be a warning on this. I don't know how are people going to defend this? How are people going to defend this book? We're only in the 3rd chapter, and there's a lot of innuendo, a lot of sexual innuendo. It seems wrong.
Throughout their lives. Once exams are complete,
Right. Everything she says is a lie, Bunny. Everything.
Brandon moves on to meet some of the center's older residents.
We have 3 ambassador wolves here. That's Aleo, Zephyr, and Makai. And these wolves, they change minds.
These ambassadors help teach
And she says that
in the wild.
her time to stand means more than just stand up.
As they age,
Like,
they're also given joint health supplements
she used
provided by
it
sponsored
as
clinics.
We could
a way to say, like, this is her time to stand on her 2 feet,
that help us fulfill our
to
mission.
regain her power back, to like be a grown adult, whatever.
TV with their owners, or whether that's wolves here at the concert.
It does. It sounds like a child wrote it.
Benefit the same way that our pet dogs benefit from joint supplements that can help improve their mobility and their overall wellness.
As Brandon's
What chapter is that? Back to Bushwick?
he gets a text message about a shelter dog back in Los Angeles that needs his
I'm only on chapter 4. We're going into chapter 4.
quick flight back to the West Coast. He heads straight to the shelter to see what he can do.
The shelter contacted me.
I think she's going to end up back in prison. I think she's going to end up back in prison
Previous family because
for fraud.
dogs in their apartment. Now she's stuck behind.
Or
Her time running out very quickly.
Or it's going to be something along the lines of her trying to manipulate another person into committing a crime for her.
Now all of a sudden you're shy, huh? Let me come in there. You do some nice stuff.
As soon as Brandon enters, Rufy comes to life.
Oh, hello. There you are.
Thank you for hanging out with me and listening to me read.
We have a left dog. Okay.
It turns out
And why does she call her mama, but then in the book says that they didn't call each other mama and Gypsy, that they called each other honey and baby? Like, that's fucking weird. I'm sorry, but if my mom tried to call me honey or baby, I'd be like, no.
Come on, let's go get the pack. Go play. Make friends. Welcome to the Lucky Dog Ranch.
I will read it to you. If you can hold off for a couple more days to finish, we'll read it together.
that exuberance could be just what San Francisco couple Jesse and Eileen are looking for.
I'm Jesse, and I experience chronic pain almost all of the time.
That's so gross.
Jesse is my partner, and we live in San Francisco.
We lost our dog Mance about 6 or 7 months ago.
Mance was a really important therapy dog in our lives, especially for Jesse.
I would love to have a puppy that brings vitality into the house.
Yeah. Saying your relationship was like newlyweds. It's all fucking weird.
It'll be a great motivation to have a puppy.
Like, I would not want to describe my relationship. No, granted, I don't have a relationship with my mother, but even if I did, I would not want to describe it like a boyfriend-girlfriend type of situation, or even a husband and wife type of situation.
Down, come, off, heel, and no. The first thing I have her do is sit. You know, I sit. Look at you, you do. And
and she gives me a nice perfect sit. From there,
I think that the reason why mainstream media is continuing to allow her to run with her narrative is because they know when the fall comes, the fall is going to come hard, and they're going to make even more money on the fallout than they made on the promotion of this bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're going to make a shit ton of money on the fallout. Kind of like, remember how, yes, everyone loves the train wreck. Remember what happened to Britney Spears whenever Britney Spears like fell off and the paparazzi was like chasing her around? They made more money off of her downfall and the toxicity than they made on her like world tours and shit. Like, people were getting paid tens of thousands of dollars to photograph her in a negative light. So I feel like that's what's happening with Gypsy, is they are just waiting. They are just waiting on this moment to happen where she falls flat on her face and they can snapshot every bit of it. I think I truly still feel, and I don't care what anybody says, I feel like Gypsy is a danger to her own child. I think that she would do something inappropriate to her own child. I do. After reading what I've read, I honestly feel like she would be inappropriate with her own child. And I think that she would allow somebody else to be inappropriate with her own child too. Oh, let me show you. It's not CBD oil. It's actually California poppy and valerian root. So I truly believe that that's the reason why mainstream media is continuing to promote her, because all the outlets that are promoting her are going to be there right when she starts to fall. It's this is a natural sedative. I get it from Secrets of the Tribe. It works really well. It's alcohol free. It's all natural. And if you have trouble sleeping, like if you have insomnia or whatever, take 2 to 3 dropperfuls and you will sleep like a baby. It works so well. I've been taking this for the past 2 years and I sleep so well.
Tell me a little bit about your history with dogs.
Both of us grew up with dogs. Recently, we lost our...
Yeah, that child definitely needs to be taken from Gypsy. She's not a good person. She's not a good person.
Yeah. What kind of activities and hobbies do you guys do?
We love to go camping and hiking.
I'm assuming you want your dog to come on these adventures.
Of course.
So what do you both...
I just don't.
Work in an organization that helps.
I'm very confused about what this book is supposed to be at this point, because it doesn't sound like a memoir. I mean, did you read Britney's memoir? Did anybody read Britney's memoir, or like another famous person's memoir? It sounds like, it sounds elementary. It doesn't sound very mature at all. It sounds very childish.
He's really hoping that a new dog would do the same. So what kind of dog are you both looking for?
Yes, it sounds like a corn book.
Some youthful energy and vibrance into the house. We have a cat who's on the younger side, so it'd be nice to have a big play companion possibly for her.
Let me just ask you a personal question.
And then I also take
Somebody with
magnesium with a full glass of water, because it just helps to, regulate everything in there. 50 Shades of Gyp obsessions. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
in the same position that you are now.
Oh yes, yes.
So
I read Brittany's literally the day it came out. I pre-ordered hers as well, and it was so good.
Not only she's a worker, but she's very smart. I'm still in the dawn of the training, so right now I don't have an answer. This is the right dog for you, but it does look like...
I can't wait to get to it. I'm excited. Now I'm excited to read the confession. I want to hear her say what she did. The book is definitely there needs to be an explicit warning on the book for sure. There's a lot of sexual innuendos in this book, and if I had a daughter under 13, I would not want my daughter reading this book. I wouldn't want my 17-year-old daughter to read this book. Like, I would not. I would not want her to read that. It's disgusting. It's borderline, like, pornographic. I just don't understand why the need to be so sexual in the book. Like, why does she need to constantly talk about sexual stuff? And in the author's note, she says that she like changed names around and she's using fictitious names and this, that, and the other. It doesn't sound like she's using fictional names. It sounds like she's using the people's real names. And let me just say this. If my grandfather inappropriately touched me, I would not be calling him daddy. That's fucking disgusting. That's fucking gross. I would not be calling him daddy after he inappropriately touched me in a book. Are you kidding me? No. I already did not believe her when she said that shit in the confessions. I felt like it was just another thing that she could get sympathy for. Now I really don't believe her. Like, I already was skeptical about the entire situation, but now I really don't believe her, because why in the fuck would you say that this person abused you and call him daddy in a book? Like, no. And apparently doesn't have any PTSD from that either if she's calling him daddy.
Whoa, you are a DoorDasher. Jesse and Eileen live near a busy street. They open that front door and...
Mandolin, you can email me. I don't know. Let me see if I can type it somewhere.
When you train a dog not to DoorDash, you just take it 1 inch at a time. All I'm going to do is simply open the door about 1 inch. Before she gets to it, I simply shut the door. 1 step at a time. There you go. There you go. I do this over and over, opening it 1 more inch at a time until I open it about a foot or two. This changes the whole game. She knows she can actually fit through that gap now. Now she tries running full speed, but I once again shut the door before she gets there. You gotta be quick with you. She's smart. She's a very
I don't think I can.
Every time she gets there, that door's gonna shut. So she tries a new tactic, which is to sit there and just do nothing.
I don't know. If you can see that question, it's my email.
I don't want Ruthie thinking that she's never allowed to go out a door. She can go out when she hears command, okay.
Oops.
Okay.
Can you see that email, that question box up at the top?
Coming up, Ruthie makes a friend.
Because I put my email address in there. Yeah, if she... Hold on.
More inclined to experience joint diseases like hip dysplasia. Because healthy joints can make it
Flynn, that's my point. That's my point exactly. I've never experienced child SA, and I am very, very grateful that that never happened to me. But I do have a lot of other trauma associated with my childhood because of my mother and her behaviors and that sort of thing. And I have chronic post-traumatic stress from all of the trauma that I've had to live throughout my entire life. Like, my body is just barely starting to recover from not having chaos, not having stress, not having, you know, people who manipulate in my life. Like, my body is just now starting to recover from 40 years of abuse. And I could never look at somebody who abused me and call them something endearing like daddy. And I even think that that was kind of sexualized. I hope that they don't wait. I honestly, I hope that they don't wait. I hope that they do not wait to sue her. I hope that they take this book. I hope one of them takes this book, reads this book, and decides to take action against her now. She has no reaction to any of it, which to me tells me that none of it happened. Because when you're talking about trauma, when you've experienced trauma as a trauma survivor, when you talk about the things that have happened to you, you get emotional about those things that have happened to you. It can be hard to even vocalize because mentally you are in that place where you're experiencing it all over again. So sometimes it can be hard for those words to even come out. But when she talks about the things that she's been through, it's matter of fact. It's like I'm talking to you right now. It's like it's not even a story. It's just part of some words that she's saying just to say it.
And the dog has to quickly move fast around the wheelchair.
I can, for the life of me, I cannot understand why Christy and why Rod and why that entire family isn't doing more to protect this unborn child.
Good. She's now been acclimated to the basic fundamentals of the wheelchair.
Next, Brandon brings out some crutches.
I don't know who we would need to get in contact with, Christine. Tomorrow, what time did I start today? It was like 7.
That could hurt.
So I'll start tomorrow at around 7.
Now acclimated to the crutches.
I might actually be able to do a little bit earlier because I had a couple of clients for tomorrow cancel. So I might could start earlier. I do need to make my daughter's birthday cake tomorrow because her birthday is Saturday. So
This way, whenever Jesse needs
I can probably start. I usually take my dog for like an hour walk every day when I get home from work. So Flynn, I think you're 5 hours ahead of me. So if I started at 7, what time is it there now? Because it's 9 o'clock my time. 9 p.m.
Good girl. There you go. Nice. Minding. Perfect.
Yeah, I don't understand why it's 2 a.m., 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. Yeah, so you're 5 hours ahead of me. So if I start at 7, it would be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, midnight. I can try to do a little earlier. Do you guys have post notifications turned on? Oh, yeah. Twins. I bet that's a nice little blessing. Got both of them at one time.
We believe nursing starts with compassion. A compassion that sparks a lifelong dedication to caring.
I don't understand why nobody is fact checking. Why is nobody fact checking before they put these things in print? I feel like we're living in like an alternate universe where I don't even know. It's crazy. I cannot understand for the life of me why nobody is fact checking to make sure that what they're printing is actual facts.
Lucky Dog is presented by Joint Health Supplements. Brandon found in the shelter.
All right, I'm gonna go because I need to get ready for bed. Happy birthday, Rebecca!
It's been a long journey for Ruthie, but today is the day she gets to.
Happy birthday!
You came by today, you were thinking you were gonna get Ruthie.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Rebecca. Happy birthday to you. Both of my kids' birthdays are in December, and my dog's birthday is in December as well. So I've got 3 December birthdays. My daughter's birthday is Saturday, my son's birthday is Christmas, and my dog's birthday is the 29th.
The best part was when she jumped up in my lap. I could totally just feel the love. Like, I knew instantly that
Having a child will definitely put you in a protective mode. And then when you see somebody like Gypsy just acting nonchalant about having a baby, it's disturbing. Because having a child is a huge responsibility. Like, it's life altering. And she acts like it's just, like buying a car, or, taking the dog out for a walk. Like, she acts like it's just this, it's like it's nothing, It's weird.
Both Jesse and Eileen have time to work with Ruthie.
Down. Good girl. Stay. Bring it up. Good girl. Good job.
But the real test came whenever we were moving.
I've been kind of a helicopter mom because of my upbringing too. I still do allow my kids to live their life, and I'm not controlling, but things are, this world is not kind. You have to really be mentally tough in order to survive out here. And the people that you encounter in your life are not all going to be, they're not all going to be nice people. So you have to be mentally prepared for these fucking manipulative people like Gypsy Rose. Hey Weston, how are you? I'm good, thank you. It's hard for me to understand how she's going to cope with being a new mother when she doesn't even know how to take care of herself. But that's the last thing I'm going to say. It's 9 o'clock here. I need to go. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I can't believe we've been on for almost 3 hours. 3 hours? So no, 2 hours. I don't know. We've been on for a while. It was nice to kind of have somebody to, yeah, you can call me dude. I don't mind. It was nice to have some people to talk to while I was reading the book, to kind of get opinions and go back and forth in the discussion. Everybody was really cool. I appreciate everybody who was, conversing back and forth. That's really helpful. So I will see you guys tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we're going to start back on chapter number 4. All right. Love you. Bye.
That's my mission. One dog.